Hi, welcome to the next video in the Women's History Month series. Today, I'm going to open the space and allow Amelia Earhart to come through. Now, many of you know her because she was the first woman to fly around the world all the way back in the early 1900s. Why her? Again, I'm just allowing the flow to happen. Yesterday, when I channeled the unseen women that have been working behind the scenes to support this nation and the world for decades, she came in the tail end along with a woman named Helen, who I have now figured out was Helen Keller. So she will also have a space. And there's more and more building in, some really big ones that I get goosebumps every time I say their names. So I'm excited for that. But today I asked and I got Amelia Earhart. And this is really about the message that she has for us now. I'm sure there's questions that you all have about what she was doing, how her life went. But today's focus is really for her to share a message with you all. So I'm going to honor that, and I'm going to pull some cards to start to see where she would like to take this. Normally, I've been doing the cards at the end, but she asked me to do the cards in the beginning, so we're going to do that, and I'll channel as the cards come up, kind of like how I did yesterday's video. Each of these energies are people, right? They're souls. Will want to do things differently, and I'm okay with honoring however that happens. So Amelia Earhart, so strong, her energy, but yet playful. It's a very different energy than the ones that I have channeled thus far. It's just different. So let's see what she has to say to us. I'm using she asked to use the Enchanted Map Oracle cards. And when I asked her which ones she wanted to use, she said the map ones, and she said she loved maps. Now, obviously, in her day, maps were far more important. They're not that they're not important now, but we have everything on GPS, so we didn't have to read maps or anything else. But she was excited to use the cards with the maps. And just listen, I said, is there anything you want me to know while I get these cards going? And she said, yes, I am here to introduce this idea that you need to stop taking life so seriously, that it's not about the end goal. It's about how you enjoy the process as you go through your life. So many of you do not stop and smell the flowers. You constantly run to the next thing. You achieve, and then you go to the next thing, and you achieve and go to the next thing. And I'm here to just ask you to slow down, to take it all in. Many of the signs that you are asking for from the universe are being missed, not because they're not communicating with you, but because you are not slowing down to see them. I know if I don't listen for the cards, I will shuffle forever, so I will stop in here. Interesting card, which I'll share once I have the three. What else? I can see her just standing in a field. She's on the ground, she's on an airplane, and she's got her arms out. There's flowers, and she's just breathing it all in, and she's twirling around. She's saying the freedom of it all, the space of knowing that all of this, everything that's around you, the trees, the flowers, the bushes, the animals that live outdoors, they all are there to connect with at any time. Many of them are craving your connection, but more so, can you just imagine yourself standing in this beautiful meadow full of fairies maybe some mushrooms, some beautiful trees, green grass, beautiful sun on your face, and birds chirping, or maybe flying around you, and the rustle of leaves. How good does that feel right now? I want you to imagine that you're taking those arms and sweeping them so that you're bringing all that joy, the peace, the happiness, the connection into your heart space. It is not something that you have to search for. It is everywhere around you. You just need to stop and take notice. We got a theme going on this week, that's for sure. Okay. So the first card that, let me see if she has anything. No, she said, go ahead. So the first card I got from her is the goblins card. Now this isn't airy. This is not an airy fairy card at all. This card usually means that we have distractions around us. I'm trying to move the mouse out of the screen. Not that I think you guys can see that, but still, that are in our ears, taking us away from what it is that we came here to do. And this can be anything really. And it's be unique depending on what's going on in your life. Who is in your ear telling you that you can't do something? Who is in your ear telling you that you're too old to do something? Is it even yourself? Are you being your own goblin where you're telling yourself that you can't do what Spirit is asking you to do because some inner voice is telling you that you can't? And you need to get a hold of these because these will, my computer is doing some really weird things right now, I'm sorry. Sometimes that happens when I bring in energy. You have to become aware of who the goblins are and take your power back, because these will prevent you from reaching the goals that your soul really wants you to achieve. So I'm going to channel her message with the goblin card. She has her hands over her ears and she's just saying, there's so much noise. There's so much noise around you telling you that you need to look this way or that way, or do this and do that, fill these shoes, do this. What's expected of you. Back in my day, there were all kinds of people who told me that I could never fly a plane because, that's not a woman's thing. I got it when I chose to go to school. I got it when I chose to fly airplanes. I got it after everything that I achieved in my lifetime. People telling me constantly that I couldn't do that as a woman, that my place was somewhere else. And I never let that stuff stop me. Never. But in this day and age that you are in now, I can't say that I would do well in this society. I thought that the noise that was around me when I was alive many years ago was loud. But now I think of all the media and the rules and the tiptoeing that many women are distracted by. And what do I mean by tiptoeing? In this day and age that you find yourself in now, you've gotten the right to own homes, have credit cards, own your own property, be able to go somewhere without having a man as a norm. Sure, there were women back then that did that for sure. We weren't all coddled by the men, but there weren't that many of us because it wasn't the thing to do. But now it is. But many of you still tiptoe through the tulips because you're afraid to rock the boat, afraid to say no more, afraid to say, no, I want to do this. I don't care what society tells me I can do or not. You think that I allow society to tell me what I could and couldn't do? There are many men who flew around the world before me and after me, and their name is not known. Why? Because I was a woman who did it. I decided to basically give the finger to all those people who told me I couldn't do it because I was a woman. So if you're somebody who feels like you're tiptoeing around the eggshells, feeling like you're just doing enough to honor that strong woman inside of you who wants out, by the way, you're not doing enough. And what are you afraid of will happen if you go across that imaginary line that you have in your head? Many of us from the old time, including myself, have set the stage for you to be able to do the things you do now and having more freedom than women of my age could ever hope for. And I know many of us on this side are cheering at the prospect that someday we'll be able to come back and experience what you are experiencing now. But many of you are still feeling like you have to follow whoever's in your ear, telling you what you can't do, telling you what you should do, how to dress. And these aren't just men telling you this, there are women telling you how you're supposed to be in this new world with women being free. But many of those models that men and women have given you aren't all that free, are they? They still have this way about them of having to cuddle the man to be free, but within their constricted view. And in order for you to take the torch that I have lit for you, as well as many, many, many other women that have come before me or after me, you can't play it safe. And when I say play it safe, I'm not talking like you're going to quit your job and move to another city and leave your family and friends behind. I'm not saying that. Some of you may feel that urge, and maybe that's the right thing for you. But many of you just have to start being honest with yourself about whether you're happy or not and why you're not happy. There's this idea that in order to be happy, you have to fit the model that society has given you. And believe me, it existed back then just as much as it does now. And I had hoped through time that the goblins of that would get quieter, but they haven't. They've just shifted so that they look different, but yet are the same. You are supposed to be happy. You are supposed to do things in your life. And it may be raising a family as one of them. But many women don't feel that's enough. They feel like there's something else. But that means you have to break the mold, that you have to come out of the, hold on, really quick. Need to, sorry, I'll go back in. I just turned off Facebook so that wouldn't happen anymore. You must start to look at yourself in the mirror and say, why aren't I happy? Why do I not feel fulfilled? Why do I not feel like I matter outside of maybe being a mother or a grandmother? And are you really happy? Be honest. You don't have to tell anybody the answer. Your guides, your higher self, and source already know the answer to that. I, as well as them, are asking you to be honest with yourself. Are you struggling to tame the goblins? All the goblins who are telling you how to be happy, even though none of those things actually feel right for you. And you may have actually tried some of them on and thought, oh, okay, I guess. Yeah, that's a sign that that's not the right thing for you. You must figure out what it is that prevents you from being happy. Happiness starts with you. And you don't have to fit some phony baloney model on how to get it. What does happiness feel like to you? Have you ever had it in your life? Some of you may have had glimmers. Some of you may have happiness now, while others of you may think happy. What's that? Happiness is not stepping outside of you. Was my life rainbows and unicorns, as your channeler would say? No. People challenge me all the time. Men try to bring me down. Women try to bring me down. Don't just think that it's men who had to combat, as well as many other women who have come before you and I. Yes, man stood in our way, but women as well. I don't like to dwell on why that is, but I want you to honor the fact that it's both. Anytime you take the bull by the horns and decide that you're going to be happy, regardless of what's happening outside the world, regardless of what other people think about you being happy, you might piss some people off. But that's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to be a radical, happy soul. And the idea that in this day and age, that being happy is radical saddens me. So figure out where the goblins are so that you can take back your power and start to realize what makes you happy. What do you need to feel more happiness? What would bring you more happiness, more joy, more excitement? It's not something to chase. It's a choice. Your choices determine whether you will be happy or whether you are just going to go along like everyone else with their heads down and follow where everyone else believes happiness is. When I lived, I chose happiness based on my own wants and desires, not because someone else told me I could fly an airplane. It was unheard of then. I did it because it was something that made my soul fly. Being up there in the air was the most freeing thing that I could ever have, and it filled me with so much joy. Sure, I broke records, and there was joy and excitement in the fact that I could do that. But just being above it all, it's quiet there. Yes, the airplane obviously makes a lot of noise, but there's a peace about it that you just don't get on Earth. And it made me happy. I craved being there. I was out of all the noise. Now, obviously, most of you probably do not want to be pilots, but there's still ways for you to find happiness in your day-to-day and give yourself permission to feel happy, even if it's just for a moment. And as you allow yourself to have a moment, it grows, and then you start to get this fire in you and you just can't hold it in anymore. And just like, okay, I got to go do these things because I need to be happy. It becomes like an addiction, if you will. And this is a good one, to follow that, to allow it to fuel you so that you take the time every day to allow yourself to feel some semblance of happiness. And yeah, at first, depending on what your life looks like, the goblins may get really loud because you're stepping on their toes or you're making them feel uncomfortable. And just say, no, I'm doing this for me. I deserve to be happy. That's what I was created to be joy, to be happiness for myself. And as you allow yourself to bring in all this happiness, you attract more people who also live from that place. And then you lift each other up because there's this happiness that just blows out of every pore you can imagine. And yes, there's sadness that's happening on your world today. And yes, you should feel compassion for them. But by you being happy, you are helping raise other people out of their place. You give them permission to find their own happiness. So find the goblins and make a choice today to quiet them. kindly. Doesn't mean you have to be mean and rotten to somebody who's been stepping on your toes. It's just time to take your power back and allow that voice, that strong voice in you, to say that so that you protect your boundaries. One last thing though, some of you have goblins in here, and that is tripping you up bad. Whether it's somebody who told you when you were a small child that you would never amount to anything, that you weren't good enough, or maybe people are telling you you're too old, or that you've missed your chance, or that it would take too much money, or people wouldn't like you if you did that, or you weren't good at something that brought you happiness. You need to get that out of your head and start to work on ways to quiet that and eventually release the monkey so they're no longer there. That is not you. That is all of the people who have said those things to you in your past that you're now replaying over and over and over and over again in your mind. They are not you, they are the goblins. So if this is you who constantly says you can't do something when you get ideas, for whatever reason, it's time to quiet that voice. If you want to have happiness and you want to feel fulfilled, you must figure out how to stop that. And there's many methods in doing so, but you have to do it in a way that works for you. And sometimes just acknowledging that those voices come from hurt places is enough. But you have the power to stop that and choose happiness and quiet the goblins. So sometimes I get weirded out when I see this card, because I know it's not always a fun card to talk about, but what a great message that is. You know, I did these videos for all of you, but I can see how it's awful also for me. Obviously that would be the case, but not only am I getting great information, this makes me happy doing this. It's a little outside my comfort zone, and trying to figure out my flow of it. The first couple of videos aren't quite the flow that I want, but I'll get there. I'm not letting the voice tell me inside that I did it wrong or I won't. I'm just doing it. Okay, so then the next card, she kind of mentioned this a bit about strength. Now, I find this card interesting because at the beginning of the Channel of the Goblin, she told you to imagine yourself in this field with your arms wide open, and you're really embracing the energy around you and bringing it into your heart space, the peace, the quietness, the abundance, the joy. And then this card has this woman on it who is basically holding earth in her arms with her arms open. Actually, this card, oh, that's her foot. For a while, I thought she had 3 arms, but the bottom one's actually her foot. So, strength. With the message that she just gave us, it takes strength to quiet these. It takes strength to stand up to the people who want to bring you down, to tell you that you can't do anything, that you're not good enough, or that you don't have anything of value to offer. You as a soul always has something of value to offer. But it takes strength to stand up to these. And I agree that in this world with social media, TV programming, there are probably more places for goblins to come up than there were before, beyond the fact that we're still trying to get past all these societal norms around what women can and cannot do, even in this day. They're different in aspects, but yet still the same. That it takes strength to start to recognize that you are being manipulated by these goblins to not stand in your truth, to not follow your own path, and to be seen. It is time for women to be seen, and play a part in our future, not just behind the scenes, but out in front. So I will channel her on strength. You must remain strong. And the idea of that may feel very odd to you because you may be used to straddling the norms. If you keep your head down and you do what everyone tells you to do, no one will question you and you can just live life. But in order to get to this soul mission that calls you, or to maybe live a soul mission bigger than what you are now, you have to have strength to be able to break the barriers. Many of you have a calling to do that. Like, you are here to rock the boat, not just a little, like ram it into the water, shake it up so that people start to look around and you can shake them out of the hypnotizing monotonous of the day-to-day that everyone does and just expects everything to be the same. You're a change maker. Women are change makers. That's who we are as creatives. As a creative, as a woman, you create. If you have children, you have created human beings within you. But more than that, the divine feminine is all about creation and flow. She's that part of you who wants to solve problems, who has the answers to problems, who wants to run in the field and just be free with no desired result or destination. She just wants to be that. Now, if you find yourself saying, I'm not a creative person, I want you to just hold that. Are you saying to me that you've never solved a problem in your life? That you didn't come up with a solution for something that maybe was unexpected? I'm going to bet there's no one on this that can say that. And that is the divine feminine flow. She's in you, whether or not you recognize it or not. But back to my original message on the card. For thousands of years, tens of thousands of years, women have been taught to be strong in the shadows, to be the stilts that hold up the house, to carry it on her back, but be quiet. Don't tell anybody, so that you become blended into the background. And I'm going to tell you right now, every one of those women who have come before you who did this in the early 1900s, 1800s, were strong as nails. They had so much work to do, raising families, taking care of the house, and they did not have the modern technology you have today, so was not as she's saying easy. I understand, I'm not saying that it's easy now, it's just different. But that same strength that allowed us to stay in the shadows needs to come out in the front. Eventually, I hope someday men and women can be equal. But right now, we kind of push ahead to be like, no more, we need to be seen. And that may scare you, and that's okay. Right now, you just need to be strong for yourself. Be willing to be strong, to stand up and show up for yourself. Many of you are going through the day to day. It's like over and over and over again. At the end of the day, wishing that something was different or that something would be different tomorrow. And it never is. You have to break the cycle. You have to change something. It doesn't have to be drastic either. But it takes strength to say, I'm going to do it differently. And know that people are going to ask you, why did you do that? And you need to just say, because I can. You do not have to prove to anybody why you change your tune, why you choose to do things differently. Maybe it's more fun that way, or it brings you more happiness or more joy or excitement instead of just the mundane. You don't have to explain that to anyone. And the strength comes from that, standing in that power and saying, okay, but I enjoy it and I'm going to continue to do it this way because it brings me joy and happiness to do so. And it is going to take strength to quiet the goblins. Some of them have dug so deep inside of you that you can't even tell the difference between a goblin and the own voice in your head or in your heart. If you want things to change, you have to find the strength to change them. It starts with you, my dear. But it takes strength, grit. And if there's times when you're like, oh my God, why am I doing this? It just doesn't seem to be doing anything. And maybe it's even losing the joy and happiness. Look how you can even shift that. Okay, so that part has served my purpose. What do I do now? Don't go, oh, I failed and it didn't work the way I wanted to, and just go back to your old life. It takes strength and grit to get out of the cycles that you have been living in this lifetime and women before us, before you and I have lived. Break the mold. You don't have to color inside the lines all the time. And you may choose to color with a blue crayon outside the lines today and a yellow one tomorrow on the outlines of something else somewhere, and that's okay. It's exploration to discovery to figure out what really lights your fuel and makes you happy. Happiness takes strength. You have to be strong in your will and desire to look at yourself and be honest about what is not making you happy, or whether you're happy at all, or even if you know what happiness is. And be strong with the answer you get, and know that by having that answer, you can then make choices going forward so that happiness is a norm. And you can stand in that strength knowing that you did the right thing for you and those around you. Because when you're happy, others are happy. And if you have people around you who bring you down, you may have to have strength in there and look and say, is this really what I want to continue with? You have choices, many more than I did when I was living on earth. And I just want you to take them. Strength can start with small things. You know, there's people who see strength in me flying around the world as the first woman in an airplane or transatlantic flight. Take me as inspiration. It doesn't have to be that grand. I didn't start there. I started with the idea of just flying a plane. Learning how to fly a plane was a stretch. And there were steps before that I had to step in my own power and show strength to get to that. It is a process, but it is up to you to start it. So where is it in your life that you can show strength in order for you to find the happiness that you desire? And the last card is this one. We've seen this before. This came up in the original intention video that I did, the very first video, where I asked my guides what intention I should put into the series, and this was one of the cards that came up. And it's common when I do these, when there's a general theme, that some of these people that I channel will bring up the same cards to cement the message. And this is a one-ring circus. And if you remember what I talked about in that first video, if you haven't watched that video, you should go back and watch it. It really sets the tone for why I'm doing this and why I was asked to do this. But this is about you not having to do it alone. To find a community of women who are like you, who want to get rid of the goblins, who want to have help to find the strength to get rid of the goblins. In the first video, the message was that we're not supposed to be individually moving forward as a collective, that we need to start finding each other's community that we feel comfortable and lifted, inspired and motivated, with also help for you to not only align with your purpose and maybe connect to people who can help you manifest something that seems bigger than you right now. You have to find those groups. So I'm going to let her channel, and then I'll talk a little bit about the group that I'm building that's doing exactly that. Many of you know me by name. The transatlantic flight as my first woman to do it. But do you think I did it alone? I had people behind me, men and women, who supported my goals. They cheered me on. They gave me ideas about how I could do things that seemed impossible at the time. Getting my pilot's license, learning how to fly a plane, and being in the skies by myself. They were my background structure. I came through yesterday's video because you were talking about all the unnamed people who are the support systems behind all the great leaders and the historical figures through time. I came through because I want to talk about all of the women and men who supported my dreams, who made it possible for me to make that first transatlantic flight against all odds. It had not been done, but also as a woman. I know sometimes it's hard to imagine about how exactly it was back then for women, but I can tell you it's far different than it is now. You definitely have a freedom that we all wish we had. And I know now I could fly an airplane transatlantic and no one would even skip a beat, because it's not out of the ordinary. And it's not just because I did it, it's because hundreds of other women have done it since me. I was just the first. And they too, I honor them because they then took my torch and ran with it. I did it, they can do it. And it continues forward through time. There are many women who fly commercial jets every day. And I believe that I was part of that torch bearing, if you will, foundational measure to allow a space for women to do that, because I did it first. So I made it acceptable. And more through time. But I didn't do it alone. I had people telling me in those moments when I wanted to give up, those moments when I said, good God, why is this so hard? What, is this really worth it for me to do it? And they cheered me on and they lifted me up and they told me, you've got this. You've already done all these things. What do you have to lose? And they would push And some days they knew to just leave me alone because that's what I needed. I needed to find my own place within myself. They honored that. They honored it when I needed that time, and then they honored the times when they knew I needed a nudge. There were people who made things happen that I thought was impossible. This idea of taking this flight was a dream, a big dream that I had hoped that I would accomplish. And it's only in my sharing it with other people that it became possible, because the people I shared it with knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody who knew somebody. And that collective, the people behind us or behind me, were really the ones that deserve more credit than they get. The unseen, the people who built the first airplane, made it possible to fly. They weren't on my team, but they came before me, and I'm so grateful for them. They put puzzle pieces together that wouldn't have been possible if that hadn't happened. But you are not supposed to do it alone. Many of you have big dreams, opening schools, wellness centers, organizations to help women or men, help children, new inventions, all kinds of stuff. But one of the things that I see in so many of you, when these dreams come in and it lights you up, the happiness exudes from your cells. It's like you can't even, like you're sailing in the sky with me in that airplane. And then what happens? The how sets in. How am I going to get the money? How is that going to work? Where is it going to be? How am I supposed to do all that? And the minute that happens, you shut off that happiness valve, the creativity stops, because you've limited yourself. You've slammed the door in your face. You're so worried that someone else is going to slam the door in the face. You do it to yourself. I did it to myself then, but there was always someone to open the door and say, come here. Can we talk about that? Can I get you past that? How can I help you? There are other women and men who are ready to help you achieve your dreams, but you must first come into a community that would allow that to happen. Yes, Source will send you the messengers, the people that will help and guide you to these places. But even in there, you have to start to share it. Ask for help. Share your dream and be in a space where you know that you won't be judged for your ideas, whether they're small or grand, doesn't matter. What it is right for you. And you have a place there. Let people lift you up. Let people show you the way when these boulders of your mind drop onto your face and prevent you from flying. There's a part of you who doesn't want to achieve that, and it is not your soul. My soul wanted to be in the sky, and it loved it up there, and I loved it. The beauty, being high up and seeing everything so far out, the water and the land and the trees, and just peace. Many of you have been on airplanes. It's not quite the same thing because you're not alone, but looking out is just a totally different perspective on Earth. And it lifted me to new heights. And every time I achieved a goal, the next one would come and I would go, oh, I don't know. I think I'm too big for that. And someone always came and said, hey, I heard you're going to do this. You want to come with me? Let's go do this now. But you got to open the door for yourself. Let those ideas to come in and let you just stand in them. Honor them. You don't have to figure it out. You're not supposed to figure it all on your own. Don't slam the door in your face before you even get started. Allow someone in your community to open that door and say, come, let's talk about this. How can I help you over that hump? You are not meant to do it alone. You're not a one-ring circus. Society is not meant to be a one-ring circus. Come together. Find people that you can relate to, who speak your language, but yet have their own unique ways so that they challenge you to think in different ways as you do for them, so that they can expand your vision, make it even possibly bigger than you can imagine, because you're willing to just sit with it and allow them to guide you to it. And sometimes you'll say things and you'll be like, oh, I don't know about that. Be open, because the universe and all your guides are working through them to help you. They're your angels. So if you aren't already in a community where you can feel this love that these other women have for you and your mission, and are helping you achieve that mission, whether it's working through the emotional blocks that come up, the limiting beliefs, or actually maybe providing the investment for something that you want to do, then you need to find one. They're all over the world. Some are online, some are local. Do what feels right for you. But you are not supposed to bring that dream that you have online alone. If you find yourself getting new ideas, being excited by them for a moment, and then slamming the door in your own face by asking how, then you need to find a group that will help you reopen those doors to see the possibilities. Okay, I wasn't really sure how this video was going to go. I'm loving this, and I am really loving this one. She will make me cry. I am creating a community of women who are ready to step into their power, take back their power, own their gifts, and create what it is that their soul is driving them to. If you're interested in that, there's a link below. There's 2 links below this video. One is for a Facebook group where I do a lot of free trainings on how you can stay afloat during that. There's also a link for a free 15-minute call where we can talk about what your dreams are and what your blocks are and how I may be able to help you with achieving them. So either one, doesn't matter. You can do both. If you want to do both, that's great too. I'll welcome you into the group. We can get on a call. It is time for us to come together. Goblins will keep us apart on purpose because, and this goes back centuries, they know that together we're more powerful when we lift each other up. So I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I love this one. This excites me for who else is in the lineup to come behind. Wow. I'm so grateful that I took the torch. You know, this was something that I received in a dream, and I dilly-dallied for a couple of days, hence why I'm only on video 4 and it's March 8th. But I can't be more grateful for doing it. And I hope you have enjoyed it just as much as I have. So bye for now. If you're interested in any of those things, either the Facebook group or a free 15-minute call with me, click the link below and schedule that. And if you haven't, go back and watch the other videos that have been done. The first one, which was the call to action for women to come together to rise. The second one, I channeled Mary Magdalene, which had a really good message about expanding into our shoes and how our shoes are bound by all of these rules and regulations and limiting beliefs and how to expand those. And then yesterday I channeled the unseen women behind the scenes that have been supporting so many things in this nation and the world who never get credit. And so far, this has been great. I've done 4 videos and I can't wait to do tomorrow's. So bye for now. And if you enjoyed this video, please like this video. It just helps more people hear this message from Amelia Earhart, as well as some of my other videos, and subscribe so that when the next video comes out, you get a notification. Have a great day or night wherever you are, and see you soon. Bye for now.